Hello, Mixtresses and Mixters. This is Mixtress Ray. You're watching Mixtress video. So, I'm doing today I don't know, it's sort of in the liminal space of it's not a first impressions because I've had this in my possession since February and I'm recording this in June. Its release date is June 18th. I'll probably post this video like maybe a few days before that. So this is a brand new thing that I was sent for free to do some unpaid labor for you guys. So, you know, I am going to give you my opinions on this thing. It's not really a review, which we'll get into why I don't consider it a review. As we go along, I'm drinking an iced coffee, which I never do, in my Star Trek frosty glass that I keep in the freezer. Wow, I feel so fancy right now. So I am going to give you my opinions on it. I mean, I'll probably just call this, I mean, you can see what the title of this video is. You clicked on it. But I'll probably call it the Artist Decoded Tarot Opinions or something like that. Because I have spent a lot of time with it. And I have opinions. But I wouldn't call it a review. And I'm actually realizing, this is just an aside, but I'm actually realizing I'm not sure I would call any of my opinions on tarot and oracle decks reviews, because even the ones that I've had for 5+ years that I have a lot of opinions on, it's still just like, anyway, that's a whole other topic of discussion. Let's talk about this. This got sent to me, I think, in February. Let's go over just sort of the regular production shit. It comes in a like magnetic box. Oh, that's my like letter from the publisher. Let's see if there's a date on here so I can tell you when I got it. No, there isn't. But I'm pretty sure it was February. And so, you know, I got it way in advance. I had plenty of time to decide what, if anything, I wanted to film about this. So, and this has never happened to me before. This is the first time I've been sent something specifically for review without me asking first. So yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to do this. It's something that I would like to do occasionally. Like I don't want a bunch of shit that I'm not going to keep in my life. You know, I don't know how people that do this all the time, I don't know how they handle it psychologically. So that's not the life I want. But to be able to do this every once in a while for you guys, that'd be cool. So here I am. We're doing it. This is called The Artist Decoded Tarot by Jennifer Sodini and Yoshino. Let's look at the back just so you can see the copy on the back of the box. So it basically tells you right from the get-go, some schmutz on there. I don't know how because it's just been in my closet. Anyway, they tell you right from the get-go, Crossroads of Technology and Spirituality unveils captivating connections between ancient wisdom and contemporary innovation. The tarot card images in this deck were developed in collaboration between artist and technology. They were created in part by generative AI. So that's the big controversial thing that, like, I assume people that are reviewing this deck are going to get into. Let's just continue. Let me try to do one thing at a time here. So let me just show you the, you know, packaging that you're going to get here. So you got the magnetic closure box. You've got a guide book. And it's a chonker if you're into that kind of thing. If you think length means good, it's 175 pages. You've got full color images, reproductions of the cards in here. And you've got, okay, I'm getting sidetracked again. Then we have a tuck box with the deck in it and a little, you know, it's basically like a Llewellyn packaging situation, but much more compact. It's nice. It's a great production quality for a deck that is, I mean, $32 is a bit expensive for a tarot deck, mass market tarot deck, but I get it. I mean, that's kind of what's happening now. So there's that. That's the packaging. And let's go for like card stock quality. It is, hey, we're in Nine of Swords right now as I record this. Astrologically, we're in Nine of Swords right now. So it is a thick baby. Let me compare it to, because my preference is thinner. So just so you can see, like a regular, like Lo Scarabeo is a good 1/2 inch thinner than this. This, I would say this is comparable to like current Hay House cardstock. So it's, a lot of people really like this card. It's not bad. It's really not bad. It is flexible. It is shuffleable. I mean, since it's already shuffled, you're not getting an in-order flip through today, but I will do a flip through. Like, it is shuffleable. It's not my favorite shuffling experience, just personally, because I like thin, flexible cards. These are thick, flexible cards. And it does hold a bend when you start shuffling it in that way. This is the kind of deck that, like, you know, if you want to preserve the, like, pristine, out-of-the-box vibe with your cards, you're going to do this, right? You're not going to do this. But I like to do that. And you can. You can. It does take a little bit more hand strength than I would prefer. But, so, that's production quality. I like the production quality of this publisher in general. I think it's a nice presentation. You know, I do enjoy a tuck box, and just bumped into my light. I do enjoy a tuck box. So it should be noted before I start sort of reviewing the guidebook that I am a person that I don't really consult guidebooks for tarot decks anymore. So it, for me, is something that is an extra. Like, if I get a tarot deck, if the tarot deck isn't bringing me specific descriptions of the symbolism in that particular deck, it's not really needed for me. Like, I don't need a basic intro to tarot kind of guidebook. I have read through this guidebook, and I do enjoy Jennifer Sodini's writing. She provides, I think she has a lot of esoteric knowledge, and she provides a lot of, like, a lot of references. There's a lot of references in her writing in general. Like, she is drawing from a lot of different places. I am going to be really interested to see how her writing style evolves over time. Because I think once she starts, like, honing down her interests a little bit, and her references, she's gonna have a lot to say. I think she knows what she's talking about. But for me, it comes off as a little bit scattered, because she does have so many references. And I get it. Like, you know, I think it comes off to me like she wants to be respected. She wants you to know she knows her shit. And you can tell that she does. But I think she doesn't need to display it so much. You know, have a bit more confidence, babe. You got this. So there's that aspect of it. Okay, something that I did find confusing about the guidebook. Okay, because we're looking at AI art, and we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. I know it's very controversial. We're going to talk about it. But the thing that I found a bit confusing about the guidebook. So we've got this, we're talking about Kabbalah in here. We've got several pages talking about Kabbalah. I actually don't know much about Kabbalah, so it's possible that, you know, there's something that I'm missing here. I wrote, each card captures the limitless nature of the human imagination. And I said, how? So I personally, like, what you're getting as far as the artistic expression, the symbolism in the cards, it's very RWS, right? And I am going to do a flip through here in a minute. And then there's a lot of discussion in the guidebook about like things like Kabbalah and what is this other little chart here? Zodiac signs, planets, and elements, and like cherubic aspects. You know, so we're talking about a lot of esoteric symbolism in the guidebook. However, I personally don't think that's represented in the cards. So I don't know why we're talking about it in the guidebook when it's not in the cards. And this illustrates a point that I am making assumptions here about the process of creating tarot decks these days, but this to me feels disconnected. It feels like we have a disconnection between artist and author. To me, I'm making an assumption here because I really don't know what the process is like. I don't have any inside knowledge about this, but I assume that there are cases, and I don't know if this is one of those cases, but I assume that there are cases where publishing companies are contacting authors and artists and they're saying, okay, here's a concept. I want you two to work together. You know, here's the email addresses, get in touch with each other. Here's your deadline. Here's your subject, go. I'm not feeling like, I mean, obviously, like this isn't a general statement that applies to everything, but overall I'm feeling like a lot of decks have a disconnection. Like they're not necessarily working hand in hand all the time. I mean, there's the egregious examples like the Inside Editions Buffy Tarot, where the guidebook was literally referencing imagery that was not in the cards because probably card imagery got changed at the last minute or something and they forgot to fix the guidebook. So, you know, you don't know whose fault it is. That's not the point. The point is I think things are being rushed. That's the point. So that's a good segue into AI art. Talk about being rushed because, again, I'm not a publisher. I'm not in this sphere. I'm just reacting to it as a consumer. To me, maybe I could flip through the cards while I'm talking about this. Okay, what was I saying? Okay, rushing. Okay, AI art and rushing. So the biggest issue that I see with the use of AI generative tools, AI art in general, the biggest issue that I see is that we could be taking shortcuts here that are unfair. You know, like if we're hiring, I mean, this is a human, Yoshino, this is a person that used prompts and did editing. There's human intervention here, but it is AI art, first and foremost. You know, we have a style here. You know, it's a cohesive style and a cohesive color scheme throughout the deck. And it looks like tarot. And I have played with generative AI programs enough to know if you are going to make it look like a tarot card, I mean, either you need impeccable language to, like, you know, translate what you want into the robots so that it gives you an image back that you want. So, I mean, it takes it takes human intervention, for sure. You know, it's not completely devoid of humanity. However, it's going to take a lot longer to hire an artist to make images from scratch. And the issue that I have as a consumer with this deck in particular is that in the past, Jennifer Sodini has worked with Natalie Ray Miller, the artist Natalie Ray Miller. So with Modern Nirvana Oracle and Amenti Oracle, she worked with her. And I really like her art. So I'm biased because I would have loved to have seen a collaboration. I mean, I've been wanting it ever since Amenti Oracle came out. I've been wanting a tarot deck between Jennifer Sodini and Natalie Ray Miller. But, and I don't, you know, I'm making an assumption that there was at some point in the publishing of this tarot deck a choice between AI art and Natalie Ray Miller. And I don't know that that's the case. But in my mind, you know, again, as a consumer, my first thought is, why aren't you working with your regular artist? And the optics of that are bad. The optics of that are, she's not working with the artist that she usually works with because, this is an assumption on my part, maybe paying an artist to make an entire tarot deck would cost, I mean, for sure it's going to cost more and it's going to take more time than using AI art, right? So what I'm kind of hoping is that this is just something to get out there, and then later we'll get the Natalie Ray Miller and Jennifer Sodini tarot deck. And this is no shade to Yoshino. Like, here's the thing about AI art. Like, on the one hand, I feel like if we're not paying artists to make work and we're choosing AI instead, I mean, obviously Yoshino was paid for their involvement in the AI generative art process, and they likely did have to do a lot to edit. But it, you know, like I said, they would have been cheaper than someone creating art from scratch, not using AI. So this is a shortcut that we as a society, I don't think it says a lot about us if we are making that shortcut. You know, and I'm not completely against AI art. Like, I get why there are circumstances when someone would use it. I mean, I've used it. I haven't published anything I just have had fun with it, playing around with it. And I think, you know, we're at the beginning of this, you know, AI art, AI generative art is still relatively new. So, you know, right now, just, you know, speaking completely subjectively, looking at it, I get nothing from this. And I've heard people say something like to the effect of, there's no soul in AI art. And that is what it feels like to me. Like, I can't use this. I really can't. And I don't know, it is possible that the reason I can't use it is more to do with color schemes and art style than the fact that it's AI art, because this really isn't, this sort of like schmooshy oil painting, like impressionistic style isn't really for me, and these color schemes aren't really for me. Side note, if it's for you, especially if this video is probably going to go out to like my patrons before it goes public, so if you're seeing this, if you know you're one of the first people to see this and you're interested in this tarot deck, I would be happy to send it to you because I can't use it. So we're already segueing into my opinions when I'm trying to, I can't do one thing at a time though, guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying to just talk about AI art more objectively. And I personally have not seen any AI art that the sort of like visceral emotional reaction to it for me is, I mean, like I already said, I'm getting nothing from it, but also, yeah, it's just like I don't get a reflection. When I'm looking at tarot, I'm looking for mirrors. Not necessarily like literally, but that also is a factor. Like if you like faces in your deck, you're not getting it. You're not getting it with AI right now, and especially and definitely not with this deck. Because the thing about AI that I've noticed is it can't do hands and it can't do faces. And this is reminding me of a piece in the guidebook. There's a foreword in here by Mitch Horowitz, and I have some things to say about this. I think choosing to put this forward in here, and it basically just like the general content of this forward by Mitch Horowitz is just like, AI art is a thing. It's a tool that people are going to use. Here it is. I think it's really cool. You guys are going to like it. I mean, listen to this first sentence. This is a deck that the Romantics would have loved. It is mythical, mystical, and mysterious. In an era when new tarot decks seem to arrive with profligate regularity, Jennifer Sodini and Yoshino have produced what the magical culture truly needs. A resacralized deck that both pushes the genre forward and drinks from the deepest depths of tarot's allegorical imagery. To me, now I'm trying not to be sarcastic, but to me, that sounds like bullshit. It sounds like we're trying to like get ahead of and apologize for / legitimize AI art. The Romantics returned us to the darkened womb of human thought, and like the authors of this deck, reclaimed and reshaped old forms as well as fashioned new ones. So, you know, like the viewpoint with the presentation of this tarot deck through the guidebook, at least, is very much like, I know y'all aren't gonna like this because it's AI art, but actually it's really cool, and we're innovators, we're ahead of our time, we're so brave, get into it. And you know, I admire that sort of attitude, but it's just not hitting. I mean, if the art, see, here's my thing. The art, if it were amazing, because that's my entry point into tarot. Like, it's art first, maybe guidebook later. And that's not to diminish the work that gets put into guidebooks, because I think guidebooks are important, especially if you aren't collecting tarot. But if you have a bunch of tarot decks, you don't need a bunch of guidebooks. It is the way that I view it. I know other people really enjoy using their guidebooks with their decks, no matter how many they have. But I'm just speaking from my own perspective. Like, so that's where the bias is going to come in with this review, is that for me, I'm going to be primarily focused on the art as my gateway into the deck, because I have emotional, visceral relationships to the imagery and the art first. And then sometimes years later, I'll decide to read the guidebook. You know, I'm just now getting into the Tarot of the Cat People guidebook. And I've had that deck for 6 years now. So, just so you know, like any dismissiveness that I am, or I'm not trying to be dismissive of the guidebook, but it's just not, it's not the most important thing for me. Okay. I am just going to go ahead and read what I highlighted. I'm not sure. It was a while ago that I read this guidebook and highlighted things. So, in the same way, these authors boldly and painstakingly embrace digital and AI visual technologies, a method sometimes called synthography or prompt engineering, which I think using the term synthography or prompt engineering is another way to just like try to make AI sound cooler than it is. But that is also my opinion. Okay. Okay. This is the part that I was reminded of when I originally opened this up and then I got distracted. There is finally a secret to this deck, which I hope its authors won't mind my whispering. Its enigmatic figures, while gloriously expressive, have no faces. So, I mean, that's just, again, an acknowledgement of AI's limit. What I see that sentence as is an acknowledgement of AI's limitations disguised as something cool. So, that, I mean, anyway, like, just viscerally, emotionally, this deck bugs me in a lot of ways. And part of it is that, you know, in my mind, I'm seeing this instead of Natalie Ray Miller's work. And I have, you know, I'm not trying to suggest that she was rebuffed to make a tarot deck and they chose AI art instead. Although if that is the case, that really fucking sucks. I'm not suggesting that, but that is where my brain goes because I am already a fan of Jennifer Sodini and Natalie Ray Miller. And I'm already not a fan of AI art. And not just because of the ethical implications, which I think are really important to talk about, but also because I just don't think it's very good. Like, despite the... Like, okay, let me give it a little bit more credit than I'm giving it. There's a certain vibe that this deck is projecting that is consistent throughout the art. To me, it is a vibe that is very AI, right? Like, there is a vibe to it. It has a little bit of a voice through its voicelessness, you know? So if you're into sort of a deck that is a little colder, a little more at a distance, like other art styles or other decks that this deck loosely reminds me of, there was that one, what was it called? I had it and I liked it, but ultimately I couldn't connect to it. Oh fuck, I forgot what it was called. Was it called the Black Tarot? Because it was just black and white. And it was beautiful. And it was not AI art, but it kind of had the same vibe that AI art gives me. You know, what I'm seeing is undefined edges, things that aren't really representing things. And I don't necessarily need representative art. Like, I can get into some abstract shit. But, yeah, so just, anyway. My reaction to the art is that essentially the thing is I'm getting nothing. I'm just going to keep saying that over and over again, so forgive me, but that's what I do. I do want to like actually show you every single card, but I don't even like flipping through it. Because to me, and I get that there are differences, there are actually 6 wands on the 6 of Wands, you know, but for the most part, it looks like the same image over and over again to me. And I had time to spend with it, but I would get it out for the first, like, maybe month or two. I couldn't even shuffle it. I couldn't even bring myself to shuffle it because I didn't care enough to shuffle it. And I had thought, you know, this whole time, and I know I've said it to you guys many times before, I had thought that whenever if I ever did get provided a deck for review, that I would be biased towards liking it because it was given to me. But I guess the deck itself has to meet me halfway. And that's kind of on me too, because when it was offered to me, you know, there was like an Amazon, I looked it up on Amazon, and there was, you know, that one picture that they always show with like the cover and a couple of example cards. I could tell right away that it wasn't Natalie Ray Miller's art, but I didn't realize that it was AI when I accepted it. I might have said no had I realized it, just because, like, if I'm going to accept a deck, I'm going to want to have a reasonable expectation of wanting to keep it. And I just have not been able to connect to AI art. That sort of soullessness. Are we ever going to get past that? Is AI art going to evolve to a point where we can no longer tell the difference and we start respecting it as real art? We're definitely far from that now, because I can barely pay, I mean, like, my attention, I keep like sort of like looking off to the side, looking other places. Like, this isn't holding my attention. And I'd like to say that the reason it isn't holding my attention is because it's devoid of humanity. But it might just be that it's not an art style that's for me. But hey, now you've seen all the images. If it is for you, enjoy it, you know? Like, you do get some interesting writing in the guidebook, and respect is paid to every single card. Like, you get just as much information for a major card as you do for a minor. And there's some good, like, you know, all the elements that a person might want in an overview of tarot is here. I don't necessarily see a huge connection between the cards and the guidebook, personally. And I think too much lip service is paid in the guidebook to, excuse me, but here's some AI art, you know? Like, if you're gonna do it, just do it. And I get why they're trying to over-explain it, because people, I assume that right now, if your feed is saturated with people doing reviews of this deck because it's just come out, I would assume that a lot of people are spending a lot of time talking about the AI aspect of the art more than anything, because that's what this is. That's what this is. This is an AI art tarot deck, and I know there have been others, and I actually am not completely in touch with what's coming out right now. So, you know, it could be that there are a lot of others out there, but this is the only one I've had direct experience with. And, you know, as I've said 28 other times, don't take a drink every time I say it in this video, but it's giving me nothing. It's giving me nothing. And I know, because I really enjoy a Minty Oracle. I enjoy the writing in that guidebook. Sometimes it's a little confusing to me in the way that Tantric Dakini's guidebook is, but I don't mind that, because, like, sometimes it'll make sense to me and sometimes it won't. You know, like, I'm gonna have a relationship over years and decades even with that Oracle deck, and I will keep coming back to that guidebook, and someday those words might make sense to me, you know? And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I just, you know, I don't want to sound like I don't know, a mom or something, but, like, I know that she can do better. I know that Jennifer Sodini, if she decides to ever put out a tarot deck, and I would love for her to use the same publisher, because I like the quality of this publisher's stuff, RP Studio. I like the quality. So I would love to see her collaborate with Natalie Ray Miller again, because her art is so fucking good. And I've been wanting, just like, side note, just personal bullshit. Like, the review's over, so if this video is another 15 minutes long, it's just because I'm babbling about, you know, I'm just babbling because I can't stop myself from doing it. I've been wanting a vaporwave tarot deck. Oh, man. And I've even thought, like, well, maybe I could get into some stock photography, make one myself, blah, blah, blah. And maybe someday I will. But that would be a really great... I mean, I'm just imagining RP Studio with Natalie Ray Miller and Jennifer Sodini putting out a vaporwave tarot deck that they have taken their time on. You know, like, this is the thing that, like, and I get it. Like, they're probably not making a shit ton of money from selling tarot decks, so they have to keep churning them out. But if we can give an artist, you know, 5 years even, you know, Margaret Peterson spent 20 years on her tarot deck. I mean, obviously, like, not everything's gonna be that. Not everything is gonna be a process like that. But, you know, okay, this was another thing that I highlighted in this particular guidebook. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Yeah. The summer of 2022, a new chapter unfold. This is from the artist that worked with the generative whatever. In the summer of 2022, a new chapter unfolded as I began to experiment with synthography. So this person, so I was provided this deck. The finished version of this deck I was provided in February of 2024. And I don't know how long it takes to, like, you know, get everything ready for publishing and get it. I mean, it was already printed, shipped from China, I'm sure, like, because that's where everything's printed, right? Let me see if it says. Looking at the, yeah, printed in China. So it was probably, you know, printed however many thousands of copies and shipped over on one of those, like, big things, whatever, those huge ships that have the shipping, you know what I'm talking about. I can't think of the words. So I am guessing it was within months. This person started experimenting with synthography, fancy way of saying AI art, in the summer of 2022, and it comes out, the finished product comes out 2 years later. So I'm guessing, like, again, I'm making an assumption here, but I'm guessing it only took months at the very longest. I'm sure more time was taken by a long shot. A lot more time was taken on the guidebook. I don't know. It's just not the way that I want to ingest tarot at this point in my life. So, you know, I got to give you my real thoughts, right? But I am appreciative that I got to do this. And, you know, likely I'll never get to do it again, right? Because I didn't do the shiny, sparkly, look at this beautiful, incredible, stunning thing. But that's okay. I mean, like, if I did that, I wouldn't be me. So, I gotta give you the real tea. And the real tea, from my perspective, again, subjective opinions here, is it does nothing for me. And oh, man, I just can't stop thinking about the missed opportunity to have a tarot deck with the artist that Jennifer Sodini usually works with. And again, I don't know, like, maybe they've decided they don't want to work together anymore. Maybe Natalie Ray Miller doesn't really want to do a tarot deck. Totally legit. And again, these are just assumptions that I'm making. But man, wouldn't that be great? And I didn't mean to make this entire video. Wouldn't it be great if this deck wasn't this deck? Oh my god. But Jennifer Sodini was the one that reached out to me to offer me a copy of this deck, and oh man. She was very sweet to me, and we had a good conversation, and I know that if we met in person, we would be friends. But yeah, this one's not for me. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Don't be an asshole. And yeah, I mean, get into it. Like, I'm probably not going to join in on the discussion in the comments just because I'm not really a comment discussion person. But, you know, if you guys want to talk about how you feel about AI art, just be civil, okay? No attacking each other in the comments, because I will block and delete. And if you're seeing that the comments are completely turned off under this video, you'll know that it didn't go well. But I'm not going to start the video with the comments turned off. I mean, I get it that it's a heated topic. I get that. And you know, it's totally fine if you're heated as long as you're not cruel to each other for having different opinions, okay? We're allowed to have different opinions. So, anyway, thank you guys for watching. My probably last, but also first, tarot deck sent to me for review.